topic of this video is transforming obstacles, and especially when to transform obstacles. In the generative coaching process, transforming obstacles is step 5 of the 6-step process, and happens when you formulated intention, got in a generative state, and went into action, and then solved energy with the obstacles which arise. And Gilligan often points out that obstacles will be there, and I tend to agree with him. Although I wouldn't say so to a client, because if you explain beforehand that obstacles will arise, they may set themselves up as a self-fulfilling prophecy. And for some people, some things is an obstacle, and for others, it's the same thing, just a next step to take. So anyway, but that is not the topic here. The question is for me here, or what I propose is that the obstacles are right at the start, before you even begin the process of intention setting and action taking. The obstacles are there. And if you do not deal with them then and there, before you even start, you may run into 2 major problems. One being that the client, or yourself in that case, is not able to access the necessary state to formulate an intention, because the mind is clouded with worries and I can't do it, it's not possible, I didn't deserve it, or whatever. Because in generative coaching we say what I really want to bring to my life is X, Y, Z. Now, to get to this deep sense of what I really want to bring to my life makes myself vulnerable and maybe hidden behind it's not possible, you do not deserve it, it's not our family, whatever. And in my seminars I taught many times the Disney strategy, which derives from Robert Dilts, and one of the first steps of the Disney strategy is to access the dreamer state. And the dreamer state is a state where you really just dream, and dream big. You don't care if it's realistic, if it's possible, you just dream. And get to this state of dreaming, having big goals. And I had many times experienced that people could not get to this state, could not access this state fully and completely, because there were these beliefs: I do not deserve this, maybe it's too gigantic, maybe I'm not worth it, whatever that is. And it took some effort to clear this out first, before they could enter and access this state. Same here. So the main problem will be that people will not be really able to access this state, what they really want to bring to life, because this is a really vulnerable piece. The second thing is, if you don't deal with that, is that your intention work, the coaching work, isn't as successful and efficient as it could be. And I will give you an example, a case study from one of my coaching clients at the end of this video tape. So, I knew of this, but I was reminded of this when I stumbled across a recording by a guy named Rudy Hunter from rudyhunter.com or rudyhunterhealingcalls.com. He's not an affiliate of mine, I'm not an affiliate of him, I don't know much of his work. I would say he is, I don't know what he calls himself, I would say he's an energy healer. And he publishes many recordings, some are free, some are to buy, where he clears issues, specific issues on an energetic level. How he does it, what he does, I have no clue. I listened to one of his tapes some time ago, and it had quite some impact on me, and another tape was, well, that was so-so. So anyway, that's not the point here. So he put out a tape recording called How to Raise Your Vibration. And this will also be the topic of one of the coming videos in this series. On this tape he has one track where he says, the title is something along the lines how to solve the history of your problem. Now that's interesting, because he says when you try out a new treatment for health issues, whatever, and we can generalize this, then the old attempts to heal this or to solve this problem, attempts who did not work or only partly worked or worked only temporarily, are still there on an energetic level and interferes with a new method attempt. So if you go to an acupuncturist to treat your chronic migraine, and you've tried many methods before to heal your chronic migraine, all these past events and experiences who have not the success you want are there on an energetic level. He says it's an energetic residue. And this energetic residue interferes with the new acupuncturist treatment. And the new treatment cannot be as effective as it could be. And I think this applies to goal setting, intention work as the same. So you may not believe in this energy thing. And that's okay with me. But I think it has some logic to it. And you may have done it with yourself sometime, or you may know people, you enter a new relationship with all the heartbreaks and the hurts from former relationships, which are not healed, which are not dealt with. And you bring this into the new relationship, and somehow this overshadows the new partner, the new relationship. And you expect unconsciously that the old one is healed, or that there are no hurts, whatever. And so and your partner should be at least be perfect, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So otherwise you get hurt again, and then the whole thing starts all over again. So if you're not aware of your heartbreaks, if you're not aware of your hurts, if you haven't dealt with them, the new relationship will not solve them, and the new relationship will be not as joyful and fulfilling as it could be, because the old stuff is there, invades the new relationship. And this happens all the time. It happens with relationships, it happens with jobs, it happens with everything. So I think there's a reason for that, and there's the logic to it, to clear, before we start a new intention, to clear the old stuff, what hinders us. And Milton Erickson probably knew this, because Milton Erickson had many patients sent to him by other therapists who had no success with the patients, or who didn't know what to do with them. So the patients came to Erickson with this history of failed therapeutic work. And Erickson dealt with that straight away. And he probably had many ways to deal with that. And one way we know how he dealt it. And the patient says, okay, I tried this and this and this, it didn't work, and etc., etc. And said, and Milton Erickson said something along the lines, yes, this is because you tried to solve this problem by using your conscious mind. But now we are using your unconscious mind. Because your unconscious mind is the source, the means to solve this problem, not the conscious mind. And then it's straight away into trance, probably. So what did he do? This is called the conscious-unconscious dissociation. So he framed every past unsuccessful experience attempt to solve this problem as an attempt done with a conscious mind. This may even be not true. Maybe the other therapists used hypnotherapy as well. But so he framed it as this, so this was the approach using the conscious mind. Now we're using your unconscious mind. And so we are using a totally new approach, and he explained that the unconscious is responsible for solving this problem. So he cleared the field, the table was clear, it was very clear. So he had not to deal with all the old problems, with all the old issues, failed issues. He had said, okay, you tried it with an attempt, with a method, with an approach, which is not good for solving this problem. and acknowledging that this isn't. It's not saying, he didn't say, okay, you're stupid, or a therapist was stupid, or whatever, or you're hopeless. It's just you used the wrong approach. Now we're using the right approach, the approach to solve this problem. And so he ceded to them that the unconscious is the way, the means to solve this problem. Even though he didn't ever give a guarantee. He said, oh, I don't know, but I'm curious to find out. Anyway, so this is a conscious-unconscious dissociation, and there are many variations you could use with yourself or clients, and this is true in many cases. So this is one way to do it. There are other ways to clear the obstacles beforehand. Ted James, the NLP trainer, Ericksonian hypnotherapist, and timeline therapist, put out a program called The Secret of Creating Your Future. I think many years ago I bought it from him directly when he lived in Hawaii. It's on cassette tapes then. And it's a method to put your goal into your personal timeline, into the future. But before you can do this in the program, you have to clear out all the what he called negative emotions like sadness, guilt, anger, anxiety, etc., and limiting decisions. And the main part of the program is this clearly out and using timeline techniques. So you're asking what's the root cause of this, and it's maybe in your childhood, it may be in the womb, it may be in past lives. Even if you don't believe in past life, it doesn't matter. You find the root cause and clear all this. And you can get stuck with this kind of clearing process. It takes really long time. Now, even though he says in his book, he wrote about this, that this is somehow related to your attention, nowadays I would recommend, at least to add to this program, find out the limiting emotions or negative emotion related to your specific intention and clear that. So the clearing process, if you use timeline therapy or whatever method, is directly targeted to your specific intention. And this probably cannot be done on a general course. So probably if you said, okay, I tried to create financial abundance once, and I invested money, and I lost all money, and I felt stupid, and the belief created I can't do it, I'm not worth it, I'm not clever enough, whatever, then clear that. And so the field is cleared before you go after that goal again. That's one way to do it. Another way I learned from Robert McDonald. I attended a seminar with him last year, and Robert McDonald is an NLP trainer, co-author of the best-selling book NLP New Technology of Achievement, and co-author with Robert Dilts of Tools of the Spirit. And Robert is very much into spiritual work and spiritual techniques and spiritual aspects, and he has some very interesting stuff on that. I did an interview with him at the time, which will be published in German magazine Praxis Kommunikation in a very condensed form, and the original interview will be published in English on my website anyway. So he has a seminar called the Creatve Order. So it's his process to do manifestation work. And he has a presupposition that he says, okay, if you really wanted something, you were 100% congruent, you would already have manifested it. So, seeing that you have not manifested it tells me that you on one hand want this, on the other hand there may be something, a part of you who resists this, who doesn't want it, or whatever, has some kind of issues with this goal. And before we did the process of the creative order, he led us through another process, clearing that, integrating the resistant or the hesitant or whatever, the antagonistic part. And he used a variation of what is called in NLP the visual squash, conflict integration, where you put in one hand the one side who wants this intention manifest, on one hand the part who doesn't want it, and then they integrate and build something new. And here's some nice touches on that. Some nice touches, put it on tape. Actually, he calls this healing yes, healing no, which is targeted to healing, but you can use the same process for anything. This is one way you can do. You could also use your hands in a different way, where you use Ernest Rossi's mirroring hands. Rossi is a Freudian and Jungian psychoanalyst and hypnotherapist. He worked closely with Erickson, published many books with him. And he came up with this mirroring hands many years ago. And I saw him on the workshop I did with him, and was totally amazed. He did 1 hour therapy without doing much, because the client did most of the work, and that's how it should be. And he used the mirroring hands. And he published it many times in books. One is I found it, one of the first I found it in was The Symptom Path to Enlightenment, and in recent years he published another book with Richard Hill called The Practitioner's Guide to Mirroring Hands, and Richard Hill does also an online training on this. Actually what it is, I will not go into and teach you this, but it's something like you attribute the hands. One hand may be the problem hand, and you set it up and you allow your unconscious to sort through the problem space, and the hand, as long as the hand goes down, it sorts only through the problem space, and then when it drops to your lap, then the unconscious sorts through all the solutions which are possible for you, and it's a very nice, very gentle process. Very simple, very elegant, and I used it on myself many years ago when I had to do a major decision in my life, and it worked very well, and it was the right decision, by the way. You could use that and try that out if you know the method, and if you want to learn this, you can try it out with intention work. So, you know, there are other methods you could use, all kinds of energy work, energy psychology work, where you tap on different acupuncture points. Emotional freedom technique is the most popular one. I use a variation of that with Patricia Carrington's Choices method, or Dawson's matrix reimprinting, where you tap on your younger self. Very, very powerful processes to clear the stuff. And this is very powerful as well. I recommended in my workshop on Letting Go is Easy, which I did, which I put on DVD, which will be available in near time also in English. Another method of letting go of the old stuff. Because I was introduced into letting go because in many systems, spiritual traditions, and also Lynn McTaggart's work, letting go of the intention is the last step, which we don't have in generative coaching. And no one tells you about letting go, the intention. It's kind of a paradox, and so I searched and researched the field and found what is called the Sedona method, or the release technique. And it's a very valuable tool to release emotions, attachment to your goal, etc. And I recommend to use it also when you use it for goal setting, for intentional work, to release all the old attachment to the old times when you tried something and it didn't work, when you tried to manifest a goal and it didn't work. And so you can release this with this method very easily and quickly. It's a very valuable process, worth learning. But that's maybe a topic of another video. Okay, so these are many methods, and as I promised, I'll tell you a case study. I had a client years ago, and he had some business and financial goals, and he wanted my help to achieve them. And I invited him to do a goal setting process, and he said, "Oh no, I've done that, I know all about SMART goals and everything." I read the books, I did the courses, I've done it, it didn't work, and I didn't like doing it again. And so the obstacle was right in my face. There was this, you know, times when he failed to manifest what he wanted. So we talked about this a while and found out what he did, and I convinced him that I do many things quite differently than anybody else, and so he was then finally open to try out, just for now, try out what I had to offer. And so he went through this process I took him through, and at the end of this process he was very much surprised. He had never experienced that way. And then the field was over. Then the resistance was gone. Then the old failures were gone. We were open to do the coaching work. And yes, during this coaching process there were some obstacles, but they were just more like stepping stones. It was not such a big deal. It was just very easy, very smooth. He was very congruent. He was very committed. He did the assignments I gave him. And he set us a goal to achieve a specific financial income he wanted to achieve in 1 year. He set the time frame: in 1 year I want to earn X amount of money. That was his goal. And it was congruent with that, it was realistic, and it took 1 year. But he did not achieve this goal in 1 year. He achieved this goal 3 months time. 3 months he achieved what he planned to achieve in 1 year. And why is this so? Many factors. And one factor is that we cleared all the past things before we started the process. That's one thing. There are many factors involved. We deep rapport, and it was congruent, and whatever. But one of the main factors is that we talked about this attempt to manifest things as goal setting. It didn't work, you know all about it. It doesn't work, it doesn't want it. And then we cleared all that, and then we were open to try something totally new. How I convinced him, I don't know actually, but I found a way to convince him to try out new things. And this was the one thing. And the interesting thing is that he had another goal he was very wishing to have, which was related to his family life. He wanted to create something with his wife, and they went into stumbling blocks and it didn't go any further. And during my coaching with him, they faded away. And when we said goodbye to each other, he had the financial income he wanted, his business was running, and he was on his way building his dream family life. And that is due to many things, but one way is clearing the obstacles before you start. I'm looking forward to hear from you and your comments, insights, ideas, criticism, whatever. Talk soon. Take care.